Hello everybody, so in this video we're going to cover the different ways to do a Hello World application with Node.js on NodeRun.com. Now there are different ways that you can do this, but we're going to cover a console.log to output Hello World to the console. We're going to cover an Express Route to output Hello World from Node.js to the browser, and we're going to do a rich display Hello World. So let's get to it.
So we're going to do this with Node.js. We're going to do this on NodeRun.com. So the first step is just to go to NodeRun.com. What you're going to see is a screen with some other spaces. So here I have some spaces that I have created in the past. And then there's some featured spaces that are examples. And some of these, as you can see, like here's React Hello World. Or just a rich display Hello World. Some of these are actually good spaces to start with if you wanted to explore some of these Hello World applications. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, we're going to build this from scratch. So let's go ahead and click Create New Space. And this is going to bring up the NodeRun IDE. And again, there's another opportunity here to start from a template. And some of these are Hello World templates. Because we're learning, we want to understand how this works behind the scenes. Let's cancel out of this dialog, and we're going to do this from scratch. Now, whenever you create a space on NodeRun, one of the first things that you'll see that there's a README file, and I recommend that you update this README file. You can expand this little thing, and you can type in a different title, let's say. And for now, I'm just going to wipe out this other content, so we have a valid Hello World README file. And let's go ahead and click Save. And let's start out. So let's start out with new JavaScript file, and this is going to be our Node.js file. Now it gives you a little function in here for an app. We're going to wipe that out. We don't need that for this basic example. And all that we're going to do is type console.log and then Hello World, and let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to save this into our workspace files, and I'm just going to call this hello.js. Click Save. And at this point, if we wanted to run something like this, the only way to run this is actually from a command line. So to start a command line, I'm going to go to server. I'm going to start the terminal. So this starts up the terminal for me that is within the NodeRun workspace. And if I do, let's say ls for listing the files, I can see the hello.js file in there. And then I can do node hello.js. And here we go, I see Hello World. So this is your very basic Hello World Node.js application that outputs something to the console or the terminal. Of course, we want to go beyond that, and we want to now interact with the browser. So what I'm going to do is, so let's kind of stop this terminal, minimize this, and in fact, let's go back. I'm going to Control Z some of this, and let's go back to this function. So within NodeRun, now that we have a function and it is being exported, okay, this can become a real module. And again, this function is called app by default, but you can change that. So let's go ahead and change that to hello, for example. And it's a matter of how we want to execute this particular module. And within NodeRun, what you would do is you would go to your file tree, and you would right-click the file, you would select Properties, and then these are the options on how you run this particular file. Because Express, which is a web server for Node.js, is already built in here, we can say that this is an Express Route. So that would be the easy way to do this. And we can also say that instead of specifying a unique route path, this will be the route to start our application on NodeRun. So let's go ahead and say app start. The HTTP method, I think get is fine. And let's go ahead and click OK. So now this is how this app starts when we launch the application. Now, because this is an Express Route, we're going to accept parameters that are your standard Express request parameter and a response parameter. So request gives you information about anything coming in whenever we navigate to this page, and then response is how you send something out. So in this particular case, all that we need is response dot send hello world, and that will send hello world to the browser when we run this application. So let's go ahead and save this, and then what we need to do before we can run the application, we need to publish this as an actual space that we publish. So let's call this something like hello world example, and we'll go ahead and click publish, and now we have these URLs that are runnable URLs. So to run, this would be the URL that you can send to anybody, and now you have a very simple published application. Another way to get this just to show you, is that you can close this dialog and you can select launch, and there's different ways to launch it. You can launch the app within your IDE, or you can launch the app in a separate browser tab, and that just goes to the URL that we just saw. And as you can see, this is Node.js code sending hello world out to the browser. So now we're talking to the browser, but this is very primitive, and if you had to build a more advanced application, this would be kind of a cumbersome way to keep sending from Node, some snippets of HTML or whatnot out to the browser. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is how to do some of the more advanced screen design, and for this type of stuff, basically what you need is a front-end framework, and there's different things that are supported within NodeRun, like you can use React, for example, or Vue.js, but there's also this concept of stateful applications and rich displays. So these rich displays are very powerful. So you can say new rich display, and that creates a file basically that is a JSON file that is a definition of a set of screens or screen, and you can build a screen using this visual designer tool. So just as an example, let's go ahead and put a widget out here. Let's call it a panel, and maybe we'll call this Hello World app, and I'll put a label out here that just says Hello World, and maybe make it a little bigger like this, and center this horizontally, so something like this. So here we've built a screen. We're going to give this screen a name, so let's call it Hello Screen. I'm just making this up, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. And so this is being saved as a JSON definition, and I'm going to type in hello.json, go ahead and click save again. So this is now saved, and let's go back to our application here, and we're going to make a few changes here that interact with this rich display. And first of all, this is no longer going to be treated as an express route, so it's a little different. I'm going to right-click this hello.js file, click Properties, and I'm going to uncheck Express Route. This is still our application start file, and I'm going to click OK. And then let's take out the request and the response, and we're going to use the API. And some of these API, they're well documented on NodeRun.com. You can go to the docs section and see more details about what we're doing. But basically, we have to define that display. So PJS define display is the API that allows us to interact with that JSON file that we just created, and we have to give it a name. So an object name, so let's call it display, and then we have to refer to the actual JSON file, and that one was called hello.json. So that defines this display object that allows us to interact with the rich display that we created. And then finally what we can do is we can go display dot, I think we called it hello screen, and I'm going to verify this just by Looking over here, yep, hello screen. So that's what we're referring to. So hello screen, and then dot execute. So execute is a method that sends that screen out for the user to see. So let's go ahead and save this, and I'm going to launch the app in the browser. And what we're seeing here is our first rich display Hello World app. So I hope this makes sense. We've seen the 3 different ways that you can build a Hello World application, and truth be told, there are many other ways to build applications. So there's many other variations of a Hello World application. You can start with just an HTML file, for example, on NodeRun, or you can, like I mentioned earlier, use some other frameworks like React is very popular, and Vue is very popular for building web interfaces.